Welcome back. Today we're talking about how the U.S. Forest Service restores their garage sale tools. It is fire season, and up here in the Pacific Northwest, that means things are going to catch on fire. I'm not a firefighter, but I have got all of these Forest Service firefighting tools that I have picked up at garage sales over the last year. Now, I should start off by acknowledging that these are not necessarily firefighting tools. These tools are used for trail maintenance, gardening. In fact, they may get more use doing that type of work than they actually do fighting fires. But they're most well known as firefighting tools. First is the McLeod tool, a combination of a big wide hoe blade and a rake. The handle is a little rotten and kind of warped, so the handle needs to be replaced and the tool itself needs to be cleaned up. Then I've got a Combi tool here. The Combi tool is a folding shovel and pick, so you can kind of use this thing in a lot of different combinations. And this tool is not in bad shape. The tool itself, a little rusty. The handle is pretty straight, fairly solid, just needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And we've got a Pulaski tool. Now this Pulaski tool is a little rusty, the blade's a little chipped, definitely needs some work, and the handle is not supposed to be that shape, and it's definitely got some cracks. Looks like some bugs have gotten in there, and it's been out in the weather a bit. So here's my plan. I'm going to restore each one of these tools in a different video. And in each one of those videos, I'm going to go over a different technique or trick that you can use for restoring your own tools. So the first tool we are going to restore is this McLeod tool. And step one is just going to be removing this old handle. And we're going to throw that away because it's not any good. I've got a new handle that we're going to replace it with, just a shovel handle. But before we do that, we need to clean up the tool itself. And to clean this up, we're going to use electrolysis. Now, electrolysis is a method of removing rust from something using electricity. And that sounds kind of dangerous or scary, but you don't need to be a scientist to do it. But just to be safe, I invited a scientist to come and explain how electrolysis works.
For electrolysis, we use a container full of an electrolyte solution, a power source, and a sacrificial anode. So we connect the positive side of the power source to the sacrificial anode over here. Now that can be a piece of scrap metal, not stainless steel, because you don't want to get cancer. And then we put our item to be cleaned, connected to the negative side of the power source. As the current passes between the negative to the positive, it causes a reaction with the rust, which causes hydrogen bubbles to rise to the surface, and it releases the oxidization from the surface of the metal. There's a lot of sciencey stuff and some magic that happens in between there, but that's what Google's for.
So let's get set up here and get the electrolysis process started. Now I'm using this big clear plastic tote, but you don't need something this big to do electrolysis. I'm using this mostly so that we'll be able to see what's going on inside there. You can use something pretty small. Most of the time, I use this 5-gallon bucket. I've got 12 gallons of water in here. I know it's 12 because I carried them all out here and put them in here. I've also got this sitting up on a table, which means I've got to empty those 12 gallons outside tomorrow. Doing this for you guys. We need to take this water and make an electrolyte solution. Now, I know what you're thinking.
What are electrolytes? Do you even know? It's what they use to make Brawndo.
What we're going to use is laundry soda. Laundry soda is sodium carbonate. You can use baking soda. I've used it and it does work. It's just a lot slower than using laundry soda. We are going to mix 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. I don't see too much still sitting on the bottom. There's a little bit. Now let's get our sacrificial pieces in there. If you have these sacrificial pieces surrounding your workpiece, it's going to work faster. I need to cut some shorter pieces so that I can put these sacrificial pieces in all 4 corners, but I haven't done that, so right now I'm just going to put these two in here in the corner. Get our workpiece. We want this to be suspended in this solution, preferably not touching the bottom. I'm not sure if that's going to work. I've got my workpiece completely submerged. I had to go get some more water. I don't want my piece touching the bottom because as you do electrolysis, you collect a lot of junk on the bottom. Now let's get our power source figured out. So there are a couple ways to do a power source for electrolysis. The easiest one is to use a battery charger. However, not all battery chargers will work. Some battery chargers are smart and they know when they're not charging a battery. We're gonna try this battery charger and see if this one will work. If that battery charger doesn't work, we'll go to my old standby, the Silver Beauty. Nothing is happening because this battery charger is trying to detect what type of battery this is. Let's go to the other one. This is a very old battery charger that I found in an estate sale. This works very well for doing electrolysis. So let's get this thing hooked up. Negative right there, positive, if it'll reach. I'm gonna clamp it right on there. Bubbles that are coming off of this are hydrogen. You gotta be really careful with all that hydrogen because hydrogen is flammable. So one careless little spark. Make sure you're not doing the electrolysis in a really enclosed space or that there's plenty of ventilation. I'm doing it out here in the garage where there's a door that I can leave open, and I can open the big main garage door just to make sure there's plenty of airflow. Before we turn this on, let's get up close and we can see what's going on. As we flip the power on, we'll start to see little tiny bubbles forming around our workpiece. You can see that the process is working. You can see those hydrogen bubbles working their way to the surface. I readjusted and repositioned everything so that this would work a little better. And we'll take a look now. Down here we can see the bottom of our workpiece. Can't see it very well. My whole clear tote idea didn't work out like I thought. But we're just going to let this keep bubbling away and check it in a few hours. Actually, we'll check it in the morning because it's late and I'm tired.
The next day.
At this point in the project, I was explaining some things that were super important about all of the rust scum floating on the surface and the battery charger that I was using being only 0.8 amps. It's really more of a maintenance charger and a trickle charger than a battery charger, so it works much slower. But the microphone that I'm using there on my shirt was not actually plugged into my phone, so you couldn't hear any of that. I was also explaining that the black stuff on the surface of the piece when I pulled it out is something called magnetite, not to be confused with a Pokemon. Simply rinse your piece off in water and all of the rust and the surface junk just cleans off very easily with a light brushing using a little brass brush here, and it scrubs right off. So that's all that you missed when you couldn't hear me talking. I have upgraded from my $10 wired microphone to a more expensive microphone so that the sound quality will probably continue to be roughly equivalent to a potato, but it will be a more expensive potato. There's the tool. I dried it off, sprayed it with WD-40, wiped it down so it won't rust again. And it's ready to go back on a handle. The last thing we need to do is put the handle on. It's just a standard shovel handle from a hardware store. I've done some work on this handle to get it ready. The end needed a little bit of shaping just to shave it down to fit in this socket. And I stripped all of the varnish off of the handle with a card scraper. Last few steps here, really easy. Last thing I'm going to do is put some Axe Wax on the handle. Been using Axe Wax on a lot of handles and I really like it. Well, all right, folks, I hope you enjoyed learning about electrolysis. Before you try it, do your own research. Don't do anything you saw me do here because I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy in a garage talking to my phone late at night. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you next time.